Thank you for staying with us. You're now watching the Climate Chat segment of the Weekend Show, where we have conversations around how climate change affects all forms of inequalities. I am Zainab Adetola. COP28 kicked off on November 30th, 2023 in the United Arab Emirates as world leaders, sustainable business and environmental stakeholders, amongst other activists, gather to discuss global climate change consequences and the solutions for a more sustainable world. But the big question is that when COP28 ends on December 12th, what would this mean for climate justice, especially here in Nigeria? My guest for today's chat is Amidat Abdulsalam, and she's a gender and climate justice advocate. She'll be joining me on Zoom to have this conversation. Good morning, Amidat.
Hello, Zainab. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm very good. And you?
I'm very well too, thank you.
All right, so let's get this started. COP28 is currently happening and there's a lot of conversations ongoing at the same time. But let's narrow it down to Nigeria. What do you think that those representing Nigeria, be it the president, the governors, the stakeholders in the environmental space, what do you think they should be asking for at the COP28 side events, the ongoing conversations? What should be their focus when they are making demands?
All right, thank you very much. So a quick context for people who are not really into the climate space. COP28 is an annual meeting that happens that are part of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Justice, on climate change. So every world leader comes together, climate activists and every other person in the climate space from around the world to discuss and negotiate on issues around climate change. So this year is not so different. Nigeria has been participating for a year, but this year we want to see more of commitments turn into action. We want to see more investments in clean energy from the government and let that energy transition into sustainable actions for the energy poverty gap. We want to see more focus on women and girls and how their specific challenges can be met. We want to see
All right.
prioritizing the unique challenges that they've faced. We want to
All right. I think those are important points you have
Can
made.
I go on?
Yes, in a minute. I think those are important points you have made about how, we should be very specific with the kind of things that we are asking for and have a clear idea of what we want to see as the outcomes for this event, right? But would you say that in the times past, this has happened? And if, like looking at the last COP events that took place, what would you say were the challenges or the shortfalls of those that went there to make a case for Nigeria or to have conversations about how we can have a sustainable Nigeria?
Okay, I feel like at every COP event is always great outings. It is more of an implementation problem. A lot of commitments are usually made yearly, but when it comes down to the local space, the implementations are quite lower compared to the commitments that are being made. So we have to focus more on implementations and not just making commitments. So we have to narrow these implementations down and make it specific for our needs.
All right. My final question would be that what would you expect to be the outcomes of the entire proceedings, when we finally end this on December 12th? What would you expect to be the outcomes for the general climate change conversation?
Oh, okay. Coming in from the gendered perspective now, I would say I want to see more implementation and would like to see more recognition of these issues. We want to see more women in decision-making spaces, climate decision-making spaces. We want to see more investments in initiatives that would improve the well-being and overall health of people who are vulnerable or who have been disproportionately affected by the impacts of climate change, especially in Nigeria.
All right, thank you so much, Amidat Abdulsalam, for joining us on the Climate Chat this morning. We look forward to having you on other shows here at the Weekend Show. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
All right. Yeah, and that's it for the Climate Chat this week. I'll be back next week with more conversations around COP28 and the climate change justice and climate justice that we continue to speak about. I am Zainab Adetola. See you next week.